Today we're looking at civic leadership. Civic leadership. Once again, like I said earlier, thanks to Techie Train, thanks to the organizers of Yatara Rucha Bootcamp for young men in Anambra State. In the last 2 weeks, we've looked at the business is you, and then building peace and conflict resolution. The business is you, talking about how to identify and how to build your own personal value. Like I always like to make reference, value by my own definition is timely usefulness. Yeah. And so you don't want to miss out on that. That is a key component for me that is driving everything else that we're learning through these weeks. This is week 3, like we already know, and then we'll be wrapping up next week, God willing. And so we've looked at that the business is you. So it starts with you. You are your own first selling point. Your own unique value proposition is you, yourself. And then we've related that to building a professional network, collaborating with others, and then setting and achieving goals. And then we moved on also last week to look at building peace and conflict resolution. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? We needed to first define conflict and its causes. But then we also came to understand that not all conflicts are, permit me to use the word as we like to use in this part of the world, not all conflicts are evil. Not all problems are evil. Some problems will help us to see the way. Some conflicts will help us to see what we are not seeing. And then we looked at skills that we can employ towards addressing those conflicts, conflict resolution, building peace. And lastly, we came to the understanding that we all belong to the process. We are part of the process of ensuring that peace is built. Now, this illustration is one I would have wanted people to contribute to. And the question is very simple and very clear. Who is a leader? Among these two, the first picture there with the mark number 1 shows us the picture of a fowl and the chicks, and the fowl right behind them, marching forward, then right behind. And then the other is a duck and the ducklings with the duck in front, and all that. But because of our time and because we need to make this, unfortunately, this is less interactive than what would have wanted it to be. Both are leaders, yeah? I'm sure some people would have said, oh, maybe it's number 2. Most folks would go for number 2, but both are leaders. But these leadership styles are applicable in different situations. I would define the first scenario, that's the foul scenario, who is at the back, as a leader who wants to see the disciples or the followers or the led showing leadership, showing what they have learned so far. So that's why they are ahead, they are at the front. And again, in addition, is probably keeping watch over them from behind. It's not going to leave any man behind. So she, in this context, I believe, is watching them from behind and seeing them also demonstrate what they've learned so far, in quotes. Similarly, you'll see that on the flip, rather, you'll see that the duck and the ducklings are demonstrating something totally different. So the duck here is showing leadership, demonstrating leadership by example, like we like to say. Is leading the way, he or she, as the case may be, leading the way, showing example, and letting them see what it means to go forward, to advance, and so on and so forth. So let's keep that there. But that is just to illustrate to us the essence and the benefits of why we are looking at this course tonight. Civic leadership. By the way, these are the highlights we hope to cover tonight as much as we can. I'll dwell more on leadership. So the other components are going to take a ride down all the things we are going to learn on the first content, the first main content, which is leadership skills and qualities. So leadership skills and qualities. let's take a dive in. Civic leadership, like it is titled, what does this mean to us? Civic, relating to a city or town, community, especially with its administration, and then, of course, the municipality. And then you can also relate with this word civic from another pointer, which is relating to the duties. Civic is that which is relating to the duties and activities of the people in relation to their town, their city, their local area, their community, and so on and so forth. So the word civic already tells us community, city, town, a place where you have your, where you exercise your domain or your interactions, a place you call your own, in quotes, all right? And so by leadership, of course, there are quite a number of definitions of leadership, thousands of definitions. But by these simple definitions, leadership first means the individuals who make up the leaders of an organization they are regarded as the leadership collectively. So those individuals who make up who are the leaders rather, who are the heads, who are the whatever name you want to call them, top guys of an organization, of a place. Collectively, they are regarded as leadership. Definition 2 for leadership, the activity of leading a group of people or an organization, or the ability to do this. So activity, ability, leadership. So combining the two together, this third definition, it involves taking initiative. That's civic leadership now. Taking initiative, collaborating with others, and working toward the common good by addressing local, national, and even global challenges through various means such as advocacy, community organizing, public service, social innovation, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So underline the word. There are some keywords there. Initiative, taking initiative is one to underline. Collaborating with others is another to underline. And then it says working towards the common good. Working towards the common good. So there is taking initiative, that's where your leadership comes in. Collaborating with others, that's where the civic comes in, basically. And then working towards the common good. And then you see at whatever level, dealing with challenges, even at global level. All right. Now, leadership involves first establishing a clear vision. So these four are these are the 4 pointers summarizing leadership. 1, establishing a clear vision. So every leader must be visionary. Even if it's a leadership that is doled on you, that you were not prepared for. I'm talking about a situational leadership now, or a positional leadership. It just comes on you. The first thing you need to be clear about is what's the vision? What needs to be achieved? Then secondly, sharing that vision with others so that they will follow willingly. They will follow willfully. Once you have to exert force, once you have to coerce, once you have to force people to take action, it might no longer be called leadership. That might now be, technically speaking, that might now be rulership, or slave mastership, as it were. Number 3, providing the information, knowledge, and methods for realizing that vision. So there needs to be, as a leader, you need to chart the way. You need to carry the people along. If you don't give them information, if you don't share knowledge, if you don't come up with methods and approaches, then it will be all over the place. Things will just get all over the place. Number 4, coordinating and balancing conflicting interests of all members and stakeholders. Let me say something here. As a leader, be ready for problems. The reason why you are called a leader is to solve problems, is to deal with challenges. And principal challenge is not just the situational challenge or problem for which you were given the leadership or for which you assume the leadership role. The other problem you're going to be dealing with predominantly is the people problem, problems emanating from conflicting interests of members, problem emanating from divergence in perceptions, divergence in views, problems emanating from delineation of responsibilities, roles not properly defined or even defined, and some people don't understand it, and so on and so forth. But let's move. This is from the businessdictionary.com. You'll find more information there. So leadership is value-driven. Leadership is influential. In other words, leadership is about influence, influencing other people to take the action that is required for them to take. Leadership is about collaboration. So leadership is collaborative. Leadership is purposeful. There's a purpose. There's something we're trying to get. There's something we're trying to achieve, whether on a short-term basis or on a long-term basis. It's purposeful. And then leadership is also learnable. Another word for learnable is teachable. It means in your leadership, never assume you know it all. Pay attention to learning something new and helping your team, helping the people you're also leading to learn. So there's no perfect, absolute position, as it were, in quote. It must be about learning and learning to adapt and adapting quickly. Let's move because of time. This is just a by the way knowledge, just to grab something by the way, that leadership style types, there are those things we call leadership types. There are those things we also called leadership styles, and so on and so forth. But by types, it also comes in different schools of thought offer different things. By types, you have autocratic leadership. By autocratic, it means it is what the leader says or does that is absolute. He just wants it his own way. He says, we are going, no other way. Now, as we'll see a little later, we'll see that they all have their own merits and demerits in any case. So just don't outrightly rule out and say, hey, it's not a good style. Yes, at times it's not a good style, generally speaking, to be autocratic, especially in these decades of democratic practices all over the world. But then there are moments when an autocratic action might be required even by a democratic leader. I hope you get the point. So autocracy may not be embraced in all cases, but autocracy is how most governments have ruled in times past. Some have gotten by, some have gotten great results. Autocratic approach is what most military administrations have used, not just in Africa, but even all over the world. And they have been able to get certain results to certain degrees. Even for monarchs, to a large degree, they tend to be autocratic. It is what the king says that is final, in quotes. Okay, let me not dwell too much on that. So bureaucratic is the next one. Number 2, bureaucratic, which simply says this is a leadership that likes to follow processes. They are laid down processes, step by steps, actions that need to be taken, they follow. Charismatic, when you say leadership style types, charismatic, you are talking about a leader that brings on a charm, that is able to carry people along with their own personality. They have a personality that appeals to people, and they use it to the advantage of driving the processes before them, driving the goals, and getting people to work. Democratic and participative, that is the leadership style that is now becoming, so to say, popular all over the world, even while it has its own challenges too. And you know that one of the challenges of democracy is the fact that you have to get the buy-in of everyone, you have to get the votes of everyone, you have to get the sample of everyone, and then you probably have to go with the majority. Majority may win the votes, but the majority, this opinion may not be the correct opinion. So that is the thing with democracy and quite a number of other issues too. Then you have the laissez-faire. This word is borrowed from French, meaning, it's a way of saying easygoing, everybody seemingly, doing what they like, in quotes. Again, it might be good in some situations where, goals have been generally achieved and people are allowed to take certain actions and take initiatives on their own and all that. That's a laissez-faire kind of course, there are more details that can be shared about the laissez-faire, what's it called, leadership type. And then you have the people-oriented, relations-oriented. That one is straightforward. You can tell that this one is more driven by what people want. It's more driven by, how people feel. It's more concerned about if the people are not happy for us to go forward, we're not going forward. So it's the leader that listens more to people, that carries people along the more. But again, it has its own downside. If this approach is used all through by a leader, it is likely the leader's first vision does not even get achieved. The leader as a leader is not even able to stamp his own feet to say, this is exactly where we go. Everybody rise, we are moving. Just simply because, it becomes all people centric, in quotes. Then you have the servant leadership. Now, that's that leadership that employs a demonstration approach to show by example the things he wants the people to do, giving them the facts that, showing to them the facts that they belong to the same, they're all together. He's just privileged to be the leader. And so follow me because I'm one of you and I'm showing you, and he's still showing them that he's one of them. Now, again, one of the challenges that come with that leadership type is that people now expect the leader to do so many other things, so many things that he's not even supposed to be doing, which now takes away from what the leader should be focusing on: leading the rest of the team, thinking, getting involved in critical thinking, analytical thinking, and all of that. So there's now a huge dependency and expectancy from the leader to do quite a number of other things other than what he should be doing as leading the people. But let's save that there. Number 8, task-oriented. These ones are totally focused on what needs to be achieved. Again, the downside of this is that at times they care less about the people. So for instance, a staff member of the organization is sick and all that. They are not, it gets at them. They are not as understanding, because for them, it means the work is now dying. They are almost so, using this type almost makes you inhuman on feeling towards the challenges people may be facing, as it were. Let's keep that there. And then you have transactional leadership type. This is a give and take leadership type. It's about what I give you, I pay you. I'm just using that example. I have paid you this much and I'm expecting this much from you. I've paid you $50 per hour. I'm expecting the work of $50 per hour. It's value for value. That is absolutely transactional in nature. It's a give and take kind of leadership. But then the last one, which is what everybody in the world seems to be mouthing and tending towards, even though they are not practicing it, is transformational leadership. And this leadership employs all manners of tools and strategies to ensuring that everybody is on the win-win side. Everybody wins. The leadership, the led, the task, everybody wins. It's a rigorous process. If we're at time, maybe in the near future, we'll interact again. And then we just look at transformational leadership, and we spend quite some time just looking at transformational leadership. So, but then the ethos, the thrust of transformational leadership is that it employs all manner of strategies and approaches to ensuring that everybody is happy at the end of the day, moving the people from where they are to where they ought to be. So it's not just interested in tasks, it's also interested in the people. It's also interested in other stakeholders that are not even part of his own team, that there is a rub-off benefit on everybody. Let's move because of time. So effective leadership qualities: trust. You must learn to build trust in yourself, become a trustworthy person by building your integrity and credibility. You must build that. If you are somebody who people have hitherto not been trusting, not be able to find trustworthy, it is time to start doing that. Or else you lose out completely. Nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody will tag along with you. They take you as an unserious, as somebody who cannot be trusted, and that's it. So we must, as evolving, as emerging leaders, be trustworthy, meaning you should have credibility, you should have integrity. Let your yes be your yes. If you say, I'm going to be there by 8 a.m., be there 5 minutes to 8, be there 10 minutes to 8, be there 15 minutes to 8. That is earning your trust in people, as it were. Number two, ability to delegate. So don't arrogate all responsibility to yourself. You can't even do it by yourself. The reason why you're called leader is to get people to also take actions. Number three, communication. Very important quality of leaders. I'm not just talking about talking. I said communication. So you also need to learn the ethos, the intrigues, the strategies of interpersonal communication, and even community-based kind of communication. How do you talk to a group of people, just like our picture, and get them to, one, to listen to you, two, to understand what you have shared with them, three, for them to be able to communicate back what they have shared, both to you and to other people, four, for them to be able to take actions, and of course, reporting the actions they are taking. You are able to get feedback on whatever action it is that everybody is supposed to take, whether as individuals or collectively. So communication is key. Number four, leadership qualities. You must have a sense of humor. You can't be all serious all through morning till night. There must be a part of you that appeals to humor. We're not talking about comedy. So let me make that clear. We're not talking about you being comedic or you being comic. Rather, we're talking about you being able to employ humor when necessary. Again, don't employ humor to insult the sensibilities of people. You have to be sure of your audience. You have to know the kind of things to say. And by humor, we don't mean joke. We just mean you should be able to put a smile on people. There should be a soft side to things. Life is not all about work from morning till night, seriousness, and you are looking so official. Number five, confidence. It must show in you. In fact, if you don't have it, you can't give it to any other person. It is when you exude, when you first express that confidence, then you exude it to infect others, in quotes, to infect them with that confidence so that they also buy the confidence and move the way you move and walk the way you walk. Number six, commitment. Leadership qualities, you must be committed. You must show commitment. You must be able to drive commitment. Number seven, positive attitude. If you are a negative-minded person and you are negative disposed, you will also infect other people with negativity. And you will never get results. But you need to be positive-minded, or else you'll not be able to get people to take action and to get results. Number eight, creativity and innovation. You must be creative. You must be innovative. There must be new ways of doing things. That's simply creativity. New ways of doing things, of doing old things, in such a way that it becomes attractive, it becomes engaging, and it becomes result-oriented, as it were. Number nine, intuition. You must be intuitive. You must be able to draw from very creative, very rich thought process. Think through, analyze, weigh your options. If we take this action, what are we going to get out of it? If we take that action, what do we get out of it? You must be intuitive. Number 10, ability to inspire. You should be able to inspire other people. Leadership is about influence and inspiration, inspiring, as it were. Now, additional qualities, I'll run through this. Now, the first one, this first set I shared is from Forbes 2010. You'd find it in their magazine. You see qualities of an effective leader, as it were. And then this is from John C. Maxwell, leadership expert, master, I must say, veteran of many decades. He has done well, globally recognized. So he has this 21 of them. I'll just read through, I won't explain. 1, character. 2, charisma. 3, commitment. Again, you see commitment, you see communication, competence, We are not saying you should be the most competent, but you must have some level of competence in that matter. I remember some years ago when we sat down with Alhaji Aliko Dangote, and I mean this time I'm talking about they had not come up with this refinery matter. They had not embarked on it. But as at that time, he was telling us that any business he doesn't have an understanding of, he doesn't delve into it. He has to have some level of understanding, even while he's still going to employ and engage the experts to come into that field, to come and run the show for him. He would first, on his own, have some level of understanding. If he has to get people to come and train him in that trade, in that particular line of business, it will do so before he delves into it. So competence is one of the qualities. Like I said earlier, you don't have to have all the details. You don't have to be an expert, as it were, but have some great level of competence in that matter. Be competent as a leader itself. There is the competence of leadership, not just in the business, not just in the activity you want to embark on, but as a leader, there's what we call the competent leader. A competent leader will employ all of these things we are talking about. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to get people to take action. He knows how to sympathize with them. He knows how to empathize with them, and so on and so forth. Number 6, courage. Number 7, discernment. Number 8, focus. There's a temptation for me to try and explain some of them, but because of time. Number 9, generosity. Number 10, initiative. Number 11, listening. Very important skill. We saw that last week when we were speaking about mediation, conflict resolution, and all that. Listening skills, very important. Number 12, passion. 13, positive attitude. 14, problem solving. 15, relationships. Must be able to build relationships and must be able to manage each relationship accordingly. Number 16, responsibilities. 17, security. 18, self-discipline. 19, servanthood, like we saw earlier on. And then number 20, teachability, which is similar to one word we saw earlier, learnability, learning, ability to learn. And then number 21, vision. Must be visionary. Okay. So, effective leadership, think about these 7 qualities according to Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey is another world globally acclaimed leader around quite a number of subject matters. So for him, the effective leader must have, whether male or female, must be proactive, practicing principles of personal vision, proactive, seeing into the future, seeing into the future as it were. You get the point. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Every leader must be able to begin with the end in mind. It means that you are seeing into the future and you are working with that future from your own standpoint. Number 3, put first things first. Put first things first. Don't rush ahead of yourself. And don't wait. We have a saying, don't wait to waste, don't run to ruin. So put first things first. Take it step by step. Number 4, you need to think win-win. How do I win? How do the other people win? How does everyone win? Like I mentioned earlier about the transformational leadership type. Number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Very important value. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Number 6, synergize. In other words, utilize the principles of creative cooperation and collaboration. Number 7, sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw. Principles of balanced self-renewal. Don't get carried away so much that you don't realize that you need to also retreat, refresh, renew yourself, and relearn. All right. And of course, rebuild yourself. Okay. Next is Let's go to the next slide. My slide seems to be frozen. I'm not sure why. Okay. Yeah. Again, I would have wanted us to interact with this, but let me move quickly. If I ask you, if you are to look at this in the next few seconds, what will be your response? Which way is this bus going? Which way is the bus going? What will be your response? Just think about it, since this is not all interactive. So right or left? All right. So when you take a look at the picture again, you still don't know. Now, this question was asked to children of preschool in the United States with the same picture. 90% of them responded that the bus was going to the left. And why did they say so? Why? They said because you can't see the door to get on the bus. So that means the door is on the other side. This is the driver's side, if you get the picture. And so the bus is heading to the left. But guess what? I punctured that and I said that is not absolutely correct. Why did I say so? Because it depends on in what part of the world you are in. Because don't forget that it's not all parts of the world that practice right-hand drive. Sorry, left-hand drive. It's not everywhere in the world that left-hand drive is practiced. The UK is still practicing right-hand drive. Even though the whole world is still hoping that they will switch and join the rest of the world. And one or two other countries like that. There was a time in Nigeria too were practicing right-hand drive. But once it came as a position of government, as a law that everyone should switch to the left hand, people started converting their cars and switched their steerings to the other side and moved those things on the other side to this side. So perception is key in leadership. Those who said, the bus is going left, it was determined that they were correct. But when I did my own review, I said, hey, it depends on what part of the world. If you take this to children in preschool in London, in UK, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, they'll tell you that it's going to the right. And they will also be right. They won't be wrong. So perception is key. And that's one of the very important ethics and ethos for leaders. As a leader, don't get too fixated to seeing the world solely from your own end. Learn to be global-minded and then locally acting, locally practicing, as it were. If you are still doing the same thing, if you are still doing the same things and managing the same way since the last 5 years, you are probably in trouble. You've not changed. What you have been doing in the last 5 years, they're just about the same till now. You are probably in trouble. There must be change. Change is the only constant thing, like we say. Leaving you just with a few thoughts that what we repeatedly do, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. That's according to Aristotle. And then Oliver Wendell Holmes says, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us, meaning that there's so much inside of you that you need to deliver, especially as we talk leadership today, civic leadership. I'm beginning to round off on the leadership. The others are, like I said, we're just going to build on whatever we're learning from the leadership component of tonight and touch on the other components. So for your leadership, 12 key responsibilities. Number one is that you must be able to create inspiring vision and shared values that others can embrace. That's number one. That's at the visioning and setting example level. You can see we've grouped 12 of them into 3 categories. So the first category is visioning and setting example. Number 2, lead change. One of the things you're doing as a leader is to lead change. You are trying to switch from whatever it was that existed, whatever challenge, whatever situation, whatever circumstance, and lead people to a new reality. So lead change. Number 3, lead by example. So you need to be at the forefront. Number 4, demonstrate confidence, like we've seen earlier. And then when you come to empowering and energizing others, now here you are transmitting something, an energy, a positive vibe to others. So number 5, inspire and energize others. Number 6, empower them. In this part of the world, empowerment means giving money to people. But of course, that's not what empowerment is. Empowerment is way bigger than giving money to people. Yes, giving money to people can be part of it, but it's way bigger. What this program is doing to you is empowering you, is equipping you to make you, to aid you to become leaders, to aid you to be able to stand on your own and impact others positively and build wealth for yourself and wealth for your communities, as it were. Number 7, communicate openly. Communicate openly. Let it be clear. Number 8, listen, support, and help. Don't let it all be about the task, like with some one of those leadership types that is a task-driven leadership. No, it should not all be about task. You should listen, support, and help. And we are talking about not just in relation to the work, but in relation to outside the work, other things that affect the people outside the workspace. You should be able to listen, support, and help. Number 9, involve everyone. Use team approach. Involve everyone, use team approach. Number 10, coach and bring out the best in your people. Coach them. Let them see the reason why they can do a lot better than they are doing. Number 11, encourage group decisions. Don't let people come and whisper to you, oh God, this is what I think. Oh God, that's what I think. When they come, bring it to the open. Let it be something that everybody is buying into. Let it not just be about one person, and then you are now blamed for being partial. Don't be partial. Ensure that there is equality as much as possible, and not just equality alone, but also you bring in the values of equity, fairness. All right. And then number 12, monitor progress, but don't micromanage. Because if you are getting involved in what they are doing and telling them what to do, and not, you have begun to, you have started micromanaging. Empower them, allow them, aid them, support them, inspire them, monitor their progress, but don't micromanage. All right, so I think we'll wrap up with this on the leadership component before we move to other components. Just 12 major reasons or causes for failure in leadership. Number 1, inability to organize to detail. Inability to organize to detail. Number 2, unwillingness to do what they will ask other people to do. You don't want to do it, but you want other people to do it. You are not showing example. That's one of the reasons for failure in leadership. Number 3, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do. You are expecting, or the people working with you, they just want you to pay them, or even you just wanting to get paid for what you know, other than what you're actually doing. That's another reason why leadership experiences failure. Number 4, fear of competition from others. You have to make up your mind that competition will come. In fact, if you start a business line today, come up with an idea, somebody is going to copy you very soon. And will probably bring in some new ideas to doing it better than you are doing it. Competition will come, so get used to that. Number 5, lack of creative thinking in setting goals and creating plans. If your thinking is traditional, this is how they've always done it, and that's how we're going to do it, it might cause you failures in your leadership. You need to be able to creatively come up with goals, come up with plans, come up with ideas so that you achieve new results. Is that not why you are there in the first place? Yeah. Number 6, the I syndrome. So once you allow the I syndrome come, which is me, I, myself, like we say, it would get things. Learn to carry people along. Learn to get them to also see, to also take part of the glory. Give them the credits. In fact, there are times you shouldn't even talk about yourself. Let other people, oh, this is the person who got this done. This is the person who is getting this done. This is the person who is doing it. Well done, well done. Learn to say well done to them. Number 7, overindulgence, destroying endurance and vitality. That is also a major cause of failure in leadership. Number 8, disloyalty to colleagues. You shouldn't be disloyal. You shouldn't disregard. You shouldn't disrespect your colleagues. Even your junior colleagues, give them their due respect and they'll respect you back in return. Number 9, leading by instilling fear instead of encouraging. That's another major cause for failure. You are telling people, for example, you tell people, with this action I take, you can't work with me. I'm going to fire you. I will see who will employ you. No. Yes, they may be fearful, they may be afraid because you have tried to instill fear in them, but then you don't get the results. And then it will cause a crack in your own leadership. Number 10, emphasis of title instead of knowledge and expertise. I am the boss around here. I am the boss. Once you go in that direction, it's just a matter of time because before there will be a crack in your team, in your organization, in your community. I am the boss here. Don't you know me? I am like we say, some men will be repeating, I am the man in the house. The moment you are saying I am the man in the house, you are not the man in the house. That's the truth. For you to be drumming it to the ears of your wife, it means you are no longer the man in the house. Emphasis of title instead of knowledge and expertise. Number 11, failure to face the negative reality. So there are situations that will not be palatable. There are circumstances that will not go as you want them to be. You must be willing and ready to face those negative realities and turn them around to your own advantage. Number 12, being ultra positive. So why you should not be negative minded on one side, which is number 11. Number 12, don't also be ultra positive. Ultra, I'm sure you are familiar, you should be familiar with what ultra. Ultra means beyond. Ultra means going far above. So when a leader is ultra positive, you will eventually, if things don't go the way you want them to go, you might suffer a shock. You might now experience a major disappointment and crash. And then people leave you and people will say, but you said this thing would succeed. You must have at the back of your mind that things may not go exactly the way you want them to be. And then you quickly take advantage of that situation and learn what you need to learn and see how to, bounce back. So those 12 in that regard. All right. Again, I would have said if there's any question, but we need to move because of time. Community service and volunteerism. If you like volunteering, that's the next segment. Just to touch, I've spent the most part on leadership. So these other parts will not take too much. Community service is unpaid work performed by a person or a group of persons or people for the benefits and betterment of their community. Simply put, and this is from Wikipedia, so I went for, there are different dimensions, different definitions, but I like this Wikipedia definition. It makes it simple. Unpaid work performed by a person or a group of people for the benefit and betterment of their community. Now, it says in many cases, people doing community service are compensated in other ways, such as those helping getting a lunch for free. So, but actual payments, this is what we get paid if we do this work. That's not how they get. So if you are involved in community service, it's not because you want to get paid. If you are getting paid, exactly, it's no longer community service. So you want to build a youth center, for example, and then young people are invited to come and help them to do the manual labor, mixing of cement, carrying of this, block work, all those things. And then they said, look, this is community service. We won't pay you what we pay ordinarily. It's because we don't have all the money that we need. But then if you guys come, after all, we are doing this for you. It's your center. So yes, that can be an example of community service where you're not paying what you should be paid. They might give you stipends, or they might get you lunch or some other things, provide you some other benefits, other than payment. That's what it means. Now, in many countries, there are programs to incite people to do community service. Like, for example, some can do community service to get citizenship in some counties, in some communities, in some countries. Now, in some other cases, it could even come as a way of punishment rather than getting the outright punishment. Community service can, I'm sure you should be familiar with this also. It's not so much here in our own community, in our own society. It's as if when people go to jail, they will still do the community service anyway. So any which way, maybe they are beginning to employ it. I'm not too familiar with the practices there now, but community service is globally a way of getting people to pay, for certain as a sanction, as a punishment, whereas they could have been locked behind jails. So especially for offenses that do not require being locked behind behind bars rather. So they give them community service. So that's another approach to community service, and so on and so forth. Let's move from that. But then, technically speaking, community service and volunteering are not the same, technically speaking. But for the sake of our learning, we'll still put them in the same category. But look at this definition of volunteering. Volunteering is a voluntary act. Again, I picked this definition from Wikipedia because it's the simplest of all. It's one of the simplest of all the definitions. It's a voluntary act of an individual or a group freely giving their time, their labor, often for community service. There's a bit of interweave. That's why I said, for the sakes of our learning, you will see that they look like the same. But I tell you, they are not necessarily the same, and I'll tell you why. Many volunteers are specifically trained in areas they work, the areas they come to offer their service. They are usually specially trained in those areas. At times they are experts, at times they are professionals, at times they're even masters in those areas, such as medicine, such as education, such as emergency rescue, and so on and so forth. So, for example, those who operate as, I'm sure you should be familiar with this, special road marshal. We have special road marshals. They don't get paid, but many of them have been trained to be able to control traffic, to be able to manage, bad situations on the road and all that. So they swing into action when they see a place is locked down because of traffic. They put on their special marshal uniform, that they are white and blue, wrap around their arms, stick it there, put on the apron, and then they come into the middle so that people recognize their times with their face cap and they're able to help. So that can be put in the category of volunteering, and so on and so forth. So let's move because of time. Now, we've collapsed the two together. How to volunteer, which is applicable to us as young people in our various communities and our places where we find ourselves. How to volunteer. And volunteerism is good. And I'll share with you an experience that has translated into wealth for me. I'll come to that. I'll use that to round off. How to volunteer. Decide which causes you care about. So yes, you want to volunteer, but it's not advisable that you dabble into everything. Don't just dabble into everything. There are people who are so concerned about children. There are those who want to help those people who are in IDPs, IDP camps rather, the internally displaced persons. There are those who are interested in going to the hospitals to cater to the needs of those who are sick in the hospital. There are those who want to take care of the elderly. They are passionate about the elderly, and so on and so forth. So decide which cause you care about. Number two, identify the skill and knowledge you can offer. So what can you offer? What can you do? Is it manual labor? Is it something that requires specialized skill, or it doesn't require specialized skills? Just, let us help them sweep this place, make it clean. Almost everybody can do general cleaning, as long as it's not technical industrial cleaning that will require the use of chemicals and all that. Almost anybody can do that, But if what is required is something that would be specialized, then you can make up your mind whether you want to go and learn that skill, or you can't do it, you do something else. Number three, create a volunteer resume. So maybe you are starting afresh, so you may not have anything to create yet, but from that point, create it. In fact, I'm almost sure that virtually all of us have done one form of volunteerism work or the other at one time or the other. I am almost sure of that. You may not know it, but let me give you an example. Those of you who are a bit, church people, religious, You would have volunteered to be in the choir at some point, or volunteered as an usher, or volunteered to, do the cleaning of the church. Maybe you were even invited by the pastor. Let all of us come together. We want to build this our new church site. Come, I'm just giving that as an example. So that's an example of, so you can use that to even build your resume. I remember some years ago, a young lady, she wanted to apply for a job. She showed me her CV. And then I saw that her CV was blank from about a year till that time that we're talking. So I said, what happened? Why didn't you fill up this space? She said, well, there's nothing to fill. I said, how can you say there's nothing to fill? You are currently working somewhere. She said, well, she's just working as a domestic staff, as a cook to some Indians. I said, what? That is something huge. You can capture in your CV, your resume. She said, really? I said, yes. He said, but she's a house help. I said, no, that's not what you put there as domestic support staff. That's how you capture it. Even they will not deny it. I said, put it there. And then you put specialization, culinary services. So how you also capture those things. And do you know that by the time she did that, captured it, and then I guided her now to what to write, just about 2-3 bullet points of what she does. That was what the employer, where she went to apply to, that was what they took interest in. You can cook? She said, yes. What can you cook? Say Indian food. That's international. Yes, she said, yes. Say aside from the local dishes she can cook, she can also cook Indian and other Asian dishes. Even though they didn't need the services of a cook, they employed her. Not to be a cook, but they employed her in whatever role they wanted to employ her. But they thought that was value. They saw that was value. You get my point. So it is important that you're also able to create a volunteer resume as you move on. Next, determine how often you can volunteer. So don't let it take you all away, because, hey, if you are working, for instance, or you're doing business, or you are, working in a company and all that, you can't throw away all of your time. How do you earn? How do you take care of yourself? So volunteerism, you need to define it. Some people like to teach others, teach those who want to go and write one exam or the other, teach children in lower classes and all that, those who want to go for JAM and so on and so forth. Those are good. You can capture them. And then research volunteer opportunities in your community, and so that you know what you can take on. And even if you don't find the opportunity, you create the opportunity. Gather youth with yourself. Each time it rains in this street, on this our street, there's always blockage and flood. What is causing it? Go and look for that cause. Maybe you have to go out during the rain when it is raining and go and find the cause of that flood. You've discovered it. Aha. What can we do to solve this problem and solve it on a permanent basis? Then you work on that and you capture it. And this age and time, you need to capture it with pictorial and video evidences. It will go a long way. And then consider using a volunteer site. That's if you really want to progress as a volunteer and all that. You can use a site to search out opportunities. Get all the relevant details for the volunteer position. Let's leave that there because of time. Like I said, my time is even almost up. Public speaking and advocacy. Let's touch a bit on that. Public speaking and advocacy. What do you understand by public speaking and advocacy? I think simple, but I'll touch on advocacy. Public speaking is any speaking engagement you embark on to engage the public, in quotes. So let's look at what I wrote here. The importance of developing your public speaking skills. Public speaking skills are helpful for growth in your career, but also in everyday life. So here's some ways for developing strong public speaking skills that can benefit you. Number one, to benefit you, I'm referring to now. Number one, strengthening team building and collaboration. When you build your public speaking skills, it will help you to strengthen your team building, because now you are able to engage people with your words, with your communication in a way that brings value. Let me put it that way. Next is that it helps you to share ideas and offer solutions to work-related problems in such a way that people listen to you and people also engage. Next to that is that you are able to earn esteem with employers and co-workers alike, because you are able to interlocute well. And then last there is that you're able to create connections that can lead to new professional opportunities. But now look at this other side, which we have on the right-hand side. For you, tips, these 10 tips, for you to be able to do well in public speaking. By the way, I have done well in public speaking. I'm still doing a lot to grow my public speaking practice. I've spoken in quite a number of places. I've spoken on national platforms. I've spoken on even international platforms. Yeah, so public speaking, let's go back to, to the point. Know your audience, that's number one. Number two, practice, practice, practice. By the way, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to go into details of public speaking. This is like a 2-day course in itself. All right. We would have learned more about how to sharpen our communication skills, our conversational discourse skills, how to engage audience, and so on and so forth. So practice, practice, practice. Get in front of your mirror. If you come to my house, I have mirrors. I have mirror everywhere. I have mirror in my living room. I have a small corner in my living room called Inspirational Bar. I have a mirror there. I need to see myself. I like the idea of seeing myself so that I can talk to myself. At times I talk sense to myself. And so, Ola, what are you doing? And so on and so forth. It will shock you. My wife is very familiar with me. She knows I talk to myself very much. I get in front of the mirror, I talk to myself. I have a speaking engagement. At times I talk to myself and I practice it. So let that be something you can employ to build your public speaking skills. I have mirror, like I said, I have mirror everywhere. And they have to be large mirrors. Where I cannot put large mirrors, I have a sizable mirror there. In my bedroom, it's a life-size mirror. In my bathroom, I have my mirror there. The children, I have mirror in the room for them. I want them to also imbibe that culture of being able to look at themselves. You see, because if you are not confident about your own looks, then how do you want to present yourself? If people have reasons to talk down on you, how do you want to tell them that they are speaking to the wrong person? Anyway, let's leave that in the parking lot. Number 3, use feedback to your advantage. Hear from people. When you talk, when you engage other people, take time to listen to them. Even if they're not talking, ask them, how did I do? What do you think I could have said differently? Did I communicate? Were my points clear enough? Can you remember the points I raised? You can seek feedback. Number 4, make it your own when you are presenting, when you are talking. And by the way, public speaking we're talking about does not have to be a podium, does not have to be a stage, does not have to be a pulpit, does not have to be. It might just be you speaking with a group of people face to face, a few guys, 3 guys, 4 guys. Every speaking engagement matters. Number 5, connect with a personal story. Genuine, legit story that will not bore people. Short, concise, that will not bore people. Number 6, make eye contact. Number 7, use the stage to your advantage. Of course, by stage, it's not just talking about physical stage, that is a high place. It can even be a flat place. It can even be that you just run into people in the streets, and then you have to have an exchange of conversations and ideas. That's your stage. At that point in time, it's your stage. Number 8, calm your nerves. Don't get nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about. Number 9, record yourself speaking. Yes, that in this age and time can be very helpful. Record yourself so that you can go back and listen to yourself. I remember a senior colleague and friend, a veteran, a big businessman apparently. He has reasons to speak every now and then at different fora. He said one of those times he decided to listen to himself. He didn't used to listen before that. This was years ago. He was sharing this about himself of years ago. So one of those times he picked up the tape, the cassette. Those days it was cassette. I'm not sure how many of us are familiar with audio cassettes. So he picked it up and played of his own speaking engagement. And then he said, what? He was shocked. He was like, is that me? This is how I sound? And I sound so local. He was able to tell himself the truth. He said, oh, I sound so local. No, 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 no. This is not how I want to sound. I'm somebody who's trying to penetrate, business space, talk to businessmen of repute, international expatriates and all that. If I'm sounding this way, I'm not going to be able to make an impression on anybody. So do you know what he did? Even at his age, I mean, this was somebody who was doing well as a businessman of national scale. He went to check himself into a communication skills building school and went to polish up himself, how to speak, oratory skills, public speaking skills, and so on and so forth. And he's doing fantastically well. All right. And then number 10 in that space is make a lasting impression with a strong conclusion. Make a lasting impression with a strong conclusion. When you're rounding off a conversation, a public speaking presentation, let it come with a lasting impression, rather. A strong conclusion that people will remember and will use that conclusion to connect with the rest of everything you have shared with them as they progress. Now, advocacy is, in short, in simplicity, raising public support for, trying to build public support for a recommendation or of a particular cause or policy. You are trying to get the rest of the people, so to say, to buy into a line of action, especially policy-based, something that you want government to work on. It may be government at local level, local government level, it may be government at state level, it might be at national level, it might even be international level. But you are trying to get the public buy-in and support for a cause of action, for a policy, for a law to be passed, or for even a law to be repealed, a policy position, as it were. So advocacy also means the professional or the work of legal advocates. That's why we call some people advocates. So, who are usually lawyers, right? Legal advocates. All right. So advocacy, in a simple sense, means the act or process of supporting a cause, a proposal, an idea, so to say, the act or process of advocating for something. In a simple sense, you are pushing an idea, pushing an initiative, pushing for a change, pushing for a law to be passed, and so on and so forth. That's why we have these examples, this picture rather, just showing an example. The advocacy can go in different ways, as you should know, right? Okay, so if you are going to embark on advocacy, you should think of this line of actions. Number one, start with your campaign's end goal, rather. Start with your campaign's end goal and ensure it is guided by your theory of change. So what exactly do you want to achieve? Number two, develop SMART objectives. Remember, we touched on SMART goals last week, talking about using the letters of the word SMART to spell out what your goals should look like. They should be specific, they should be measurable, they should be attainable or achievable, if you like. They should be realistic, and they should be time-bound. So don't set goals that are not realistic. Don't set goals that are not time-bound. There should be a time frame within which you want to achieve that objective, that goal. Number three, prioritize transparency. Let transparency be on the top for everybody to know that what you are trying to achieve is XYZ. Maybe monies have come in. This is how much has come in for us to achieve this, and so on and so forth. Transparency must be on top of the list, or else once people are not sure of what you are doing, there's no transparency, then they will doubt your credibility, they will doubt your integrity, and then of course you will not become trustworthy in their eyes anymore. Provide straightforward action steps. Understand your audiences. Yes, you might have a variety of audiences that make up your audience. The elders are interested in what you are trying to push. The young people too are interested. Professionals are interested. Understand them and see how to bring them all on the same page. Tailor your communication channels. Tailor your communication channels. Incorporate storytelling. Let it relate with real life situations, real life circumstances, and so on and so forth, so that people can what you're trying to do can have a human face. Let me put it that way. Number 8, focus on growing your supporter list. So don't get fixated with, oh, it's just this 10 of us that are pushing this idea. It's just this 20. By and large, try to expand your supporter base, get other people to buy in, sell the idea to them, let them know why you're advocating for that particular thing. Number 9, collect and analyze data throughout the campaign. So collect and analyze data. In other words, this is what we're achieving each time. This is the milestone we have achieved. This is how far we have gone. Senator, this person is now part of what is now part of us, is supporting us. Or it may even be that Senator XYZ is against what we are doing. In fact, can you imagine? And then you see how to make a case on that in such a way that you are engaging. By the way, I'll be mentioning, okay, let's finish up with this. Be prepared to pivot. That's the last point there. Now, by the way, advocacy, while it has different approaches, can have it can employ public dialogue, public-private, what we call public-private dialogue. It can use, it can employ, conversations, interviews, and so on and so forth. It can even also be in form of protests, even while we see that protest must be one of the last things you'd ever consider. There are several channels advocacies can be embarked upon. Advocacy is not the same as agitation. You can agitate and be agitating, but you're not advocating. To advocate, that's why we have listed out some of these steps. There are quite a number of other things we can talk about, quite a lot. Advocacy strategies, methodologies, approaches, and so on and so forth. But again, for sakes of time, we won't be able to go into that. So it's good that you understand the differences between advocacy and agitation and aggravation and all of that. It's good that you are clear so that you don't have somebody thinking that they're advocacy, whereas it's something else they're doing. Okay, so we go to the last sub, which is decision-making and problem solving, and I have to move fast with this. You'll be able to read these definitions on your own. Decision-making is the process of making choices by identifying decisions, gathering information, and assessing alternative resolutions. Problem solving, similar, is the process of defining a problem, identifying its root cause, prioritizing and selecting potential solutions, and implementing the chosen solution. There is no one-size-fits-all problem-solving process. All right. So steps towards towards making decisions. Decision-making. Yeah, making decisions, as it were. 5 steps. One school of thought offers 5 steps. Another school of thought offers 7. And you'll see that the 5 are in the 7 anyway. The 5 talks about clarifying the question. So you need to first determine what is the question you are trying to answer, in making your decision. Number 2, gathering information and options. Number 3, evaluating the options before you. Number 4, act on the final decision. So you take one of the options and act. Number 5, you then review your results. So it's about the same, it's just slightly expanded. You can see that step 1, identify the decision that you want to make, realize that you need to make a decision. So that's the first place. Number 2, gather relevant information. You saw it at the other place too. Number 3, step 3, identify the alternatives. So you've gathered different pieces of information. So identify them. Weigh your options. Weigh the evidences. That's number 4. Number 5, choose among the alternatives. Number 6, take action. And number 7, review your decisions and its consequences. And then similarly for problem solving, there has to be definition. The first thing you define is the problem. What is this problem? You have to define it. In fact, your problem, experts will tell you, practitioners in the field, your problem is about half solved when it is well defined. But once your problem, I'm saying your problem, I mean the problem is not properly defined, then the solution will also be wrong. Let that be clear. Once your problem is not properly defined, this whatever solution you are profiling to that definition will be wrong. So the problem needs to be well defined. You need to understand the problem. Then it will be easy for you to start saying, what are the options? What are the possible solutions to solving this problem? So usually it is about, so there's something we call problem definition in management. If you miss the definition, you miss every other step. So define it, plan correctly. You have to embark on, devote time to planning that problem resolution. Then employ creativity and innovation. Look at the course of action you must take. Look at the goals that must be achieved. Think about the methods that you will use, and then review your solutions. What solutions are you getting? Are you like to get? Now, this one simplifies it and gives you step by step. And of course, you can see the arrow from top to bottom, meaning that it is a continuum. By continuum, it means that when you define the problem, you bring it down to brainstorm solutions, meaning that, yeah, there are some problems you solve by yourself. But you have to take some time to think about the problem. Then you think about the solutions. Think about the solutions. What are the solutions that I am likely to use to solve this problem? Then pick a solution. And if it's just one solution, then still pick it. Then you test the solution. That's where you take action. And then you review the results. If you get the results, fine. Then you are good. If you are not getting the kind of result you want, then you walk it back again to defining the problem. So why didn't I get the result? That's where you are redefining the problem again. Why didn't I get the kind of results that I needed to get? Why am I getting this other result? All right. So this brings us to the end of this lengthy presentation today. I think today has been similarly as long as the first week, if I'm correct. All right. So Ms. Blessing representing everybody else. I don't know whether there are questions, there are feedbacks that we need to take at this point in time before we call it a night. Ms. Blessing Emmanuel, are you there? Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. This is, wow, an awesome session. So we're just going to ask them to leave a comment in the learning management system, and then for their questions as part of the assessment, and then we'll collate it and send it back to you. And then we'll do a recap with the question before the next class.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. So if you give me 4 minutes, I made a promise earlier that I was going to share an experience.
Okay.
I hope I can do it in 3-4 minutes. Yeah. An experience of volunteerism. So years ago, if I'm correct, that should be 2010. Yeah, I think that was 2010. A friend who I had also recently met, in the course of seeking for something. I won't be able to go into details because of time. So he invited me. He said, he was invited. He went to an event where he represented young people, and then at that event, he was picked out by the World Bank country director, the then World Bank country director for Nigeria. So they exchanged contacts because the man liked the way he presented, he spoke at that event. He was not on the high table. He just spoke from the audience and made some points. And the man and then invited him over, got his contact. Anyway, he was now invited to come to the World Bank for a meeting. And this meeting was they wanted him to come with other young people, young professionals, young people who are into NGO work, civil society work. So, and then he asked me if I was willing to come along. I said, okay, that's fine. So we went. One thing led to the other. It was a very good event. And then the World Bank Youth Forum was born. We created, from that day, we created what we call the World Bank Youth Forum. And then the forum, the World Bank gave us full access that anytime we need to have a meeting, we should just inform them. We'll come to the office. They'll give us one of their spaces to use for the meeting. As long as that's to do with youth advocacy, youth empowerment, solving problems for the youth, and so on and so forth. They'll give us a space. They will also provide us with lunch and maybe some tea to drink, and so on and so forth like that. So we had those kind of meetings regularly. But this is where I'm going to. You wouldn't know that people are paying attention because, yes, there are those staff members that were attached to that particular initiative from the World Bank. They were staff members of the World Bank, attached to us to help us to always moderate, our events and all that, and take notes of our events. And whenever we have requests that I wanted to channel to the country director, Mr. Onoru, those days, I think in German, was it German or I think it was from Netherlands. I can't remember details now, but somewhere in Europe. So they would channel the request on our behalf. But this is where I'm going to. One of those days, as a result of the fact that we're going for these meetings and we're volunteering to do a number of things, they wanted this, would do. I volunteered to do quite some writing. We helped to write the minutes of the events, free. I mean, it's not like I was charging anything. But then in the process, one of those days, and see, this is why we need to understand the power, the principles of these things we're sharing. It was not that year, it was not the following, it was not the year after, it was about 3 years after, 2013, that one of these guys reached out to me and said, hey, Ola, don't you do rapporteuring services? I said, yes, I do. By the way, for those who do not know, rapporteuring is report writing for events, for seminars, for summits, and so on and so forth, capturing the essence of the events into well-documented forms and then putting it together into a report. And it's quite a big deal. But until I started practicing years ago, it's now dating back to quite a number of years ago, I didn't know until then that this is a big deal. And this has been one of the major areas that I've earned a lot from rapporteuring in millions of naira, in this country. And, and he reached out to me and said, would you like to talk to a colleague of mine? She needs somebody to rapporteur for them. And I said, why not? He had never seen me, never knew me on professional basis, on business basis to do it. But because there was something I was doing as a volunteering basis, he invited me. This was 2013, right? And it was a big event. Nigeria Governors Forum were going to have an event. The World Bank was supporting them. So the World Bank was going to provide this support as this service as one of their support. And then she said, would you be able to do rapporteuring for us? I said, that's fine. And then I was going to go and have a meeting with her. She said, do you also provide ushers for events, female ushers? I said, absolutely. Now, before that, I'd never provided anybody with ushers for any event, even though I myself had served as an usher in church at one time or the other, So I just said, yes, that's fine. I didn't have a single usher. All I needed to do was to reach out to a friend of mine who is into event management, and they do it quite, with high repute. I just reached out to her. Hey, I need XYZ number of ushers. How much are you going to charge me? And they have to be well-mannered girls, maybe undergraduates, the ones that are graduate fine, but undergraduates, not just anyhow, well-disciplined girls, well-mannered, well-spoken. She said, that's fine. She gave me her own rate. And then I added my own rates to it. And then I presented to my clients. And then when I was there, this is the story, when I went there to go and have a meeting with this lady, and then we agreed, okay, the event is going to hold so this day, that day. And then we agreed on the rates. And then I was going to leave. And then she called again and said, sorry, do you MC? Do you do MC for events? Are you able to help us moderate that event? Because I don't have anybody. But the way you spoke, it sounds like you'll be able to moderate event. I said, what else am I doing? That's what I do now. So out of what, but here's the interesting thing. She now asked me for my rate. I said, no. I said, I won't be chance. That day I'm going to be focusing on this rapporteuring, and then I'm going to be focusing on, coordinating the ushers and all. They said, but you can do it. I said, no, let me reach out to some of my colleagues that can do it. In actual fact, let me tell you the truth. I was a bit scared because that was the first time I was going to be offered the opportunity to MC that kind of event. I'd emceed a few other small events, but that kind of event, Nigeria Governors Forum, what? You are going to have commissioners of finance and planning, commissioners of budget and planning from different states of the federation coming to Abuja. How am I going to, so I was a bit scared. Do I want to do this or not? So I try to downplay it and said, I'll get somebody. Then she called me after that. I said, how far? And then eventually I reluctantly said, okay, I'll do it. And then she asked me, okay, so what's your rate? Hope we can afford you. Hope we can afford you. Then I said to her, how much do you want to pay? And thank God I said that. Because by the time I said that, it turned out that what I was thinking of mentioning was far lower than what she had in mind. The moment she said this is how much she's willing to pay because her budget. I said, then I now had some bit of confidence. I said, no, that's too low. That's too low. No, you have to pay 2 days event. No, I can't take that. Then I was in Shakara. But eventually she said, okay, she's going to up it. We agreed at something. And it was not a bad deal. And then we settled. And yes, that event came. Yes, it was successful. Yes, from that event, they engaged me thereafter over and over again for different, even other services as it were. And the interesting thing, because of that value that has been put in place through volunteerism, I came in as a recommendation. It didn't have to go through bidding process, where they will invite different vendors to say, okay, let's see your own quote, let's know how much you will charge. And it didn't go through that. It just came in easy. And once I went in that first time, it was easy to go in thereafter over and over again until after some time that I had not had the opportunity to do stuff with them. So why did I share this? I provided, so to say, 3 services for one single event, just as a spin-off from volunteerism that I did 3 years before that time. And volunteerism that I did voluntarily, not because I was even looking for a benefit. Yes, in my mind, I may be thinking of one day a benefit may come back, but that was not the basis for doing the thing. I was doing it. We had quite a number of people that we started that World Bank Youth Forum together those days. But a lot of people had fallen off by the wayside. They had asked questions that, what are we going there to? Every time we just say, come and meet, come and discuss youth affairs, come and they will give us food. So a lot of people had fallen off by the wayside. But some of us that were still at it, we built that structure. We even had an executive team, a governance team. I became the deputy coordinator. My friend became the coordinator. So but we are doing it passionately, just for the sake of youth advocacy. And then it turned out to have given us enough, sprang for us quite a number of benefits beyond what we were even thinking. So I just thought to share that so that somebody can learn something from that. Thank you, Ms. Blessing, for allowing me those few minutes. Hope that was helpful.
Thank you so much. I really hope they are patient enough to watch this video to this point. So in summary, for your experience and encouraging us to volunteer, right? I totally agree with you. Volunteering, it's quite an opportunity. Personally, I volunteered for Turkey Training Incubator Foundation twice as a mentor before I finally got my role. So
awesome.
Volunteering is commendable. As a young person, you just put yourself out there. You never can tell which one will bring forth. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that. That's an amazing story. I've heard of the World Bank for the young people one you mentioned.
Wow,
I didn't even know
nice one.
that way.
And
World Bank is actually it's a big platform. It's a global platform. It's not a small platform. For few.
Thank you very much.
Because they had to lots of screens. Thank you for sharing. That's quite inspiring. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Well appreciated. So I hope at this point we can call it a night, call it a day or night, depending on who is watching. Is that fine?
Thank you so much for your time. So we'll collect the question and revert back to you for the recap before the next session. Thank you very much. We're grateful. We're so honored to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So can we call it a night now? Or is there still any?
That will be it for now. Good night.
Good night from me.